Hey everybody, welcome back to Heart for Games. I'm Tony.
And I'm John.
Today we're taking a look at HDMI out for your GameCube, specifically an adapter by ZeldaXPro, officially called the GameCube Video Plug and Play.
Yeah, I have to say, some of these video gaming peripherals really need better names.
So this is actually a $100 unit, and essentially what it is just a plug and play device that you plug into the digital out on the back of your GameCube. Basically, most GameCubes have the digital out. Nintendo kind of dropped it after a while to save money on production costs, but chances are you have it. It's right next to the normal AV out.
If it's only got that one, yeah.
And it does say digital AV out. By the way, this is an NPDP reader. If you're interested in learning what the hell this is, we did do a video on it.
Yep.
So our goal today is to cover the device, but also showcase a bunch of different video signals from the GameCube, ranging everywhere from Composite to the HDMI to the ultra expensive component cables that you can get for the GameCube. So most people with your GameCube are going to be traditionally utilizing composite video, which is what you see here. Or S-Video, which is another cheap option. S-Video is a nice little upgrade from composite. As you can see, it looks different, it's clearer, it doesn't quite have that Vaseline smear that composite has, but it's still, it can't do 480p, it's not quite as crisp as you'd like it to be.
No, it really isn't. Like, so many of us have gone back and emulated games, or we're so used to how sharp things are now. And then, you know, you go back and you play your Super Nintendo, and you can get the real sharp signal out of some of those old consoles. And then you go back and you play your, like, N64 and GameCube, and they just look like trash.
Yeah, because the N64 and the GameCube didn't natively have RGB out. So as you can see, S-Video is an okay option. A better option would be to use component cables on the Wii. Because as you know, the Wii can emulate GameCube games, and as you can see here, it looks really good. So take a look at this comparison here. So we have Super Smash Brothers. Here's Composite, S-Video, and then, damn, Wii Component is a pretty significant upgrade. But of course, as you know, you can't emulate Game Boy games on the Wii. So the real advantage of this is that you get the full GameCube library, plus you get your Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. Now, of course, there are other options. You could buy $300 GameCube component cables.
Yes, if you were extremely dedicated to it, and you wanted the most pure thing. Say if you want to hook it up to a progressive scan CRT or PVM or something like that, you're really that hardcore, yeah, you can do that.
Now, here is the intro to F-Zero on the GameCube, and we have our blurry composite. Nice little upgrade to S-Video. Nice step up to the HDMI. Looks nice and crisp here. So here's the GameCube component cables, and again, looks really good. Here's GameCube component hooked up to our OSSC, which for those of you that are unfamiliar is very similar to a FrameMeister. Basically what it's doing is component in, line doubling, and then HDMI out. And then here is the Wii component, and just for fun, here's the Wii component through our OSSC. And realistically, kind of once you get to that HDMI level through the components, you can't tell too much of a difference.
It's very minor, and it's only noticeable in certain small things.
So let's go ahead and take a look at a close-up in F-Zero. This is right when you're beginning to start a race. Here's Composite, and then suddenly with S-Video you can begin to see the background. Like there's a bunch of lights in the background that it was kind of smeared over with the Composite. Now here's the HDMI, and suddenly it's there. Here's Component. Component on the OSSC, component on the Wii. Again, marginal differences.
Yeah, composite versus that HDMI, it's pretty obvious.
It's a nice jump.
You can tell why you're spending the money on these upgraded video sources.
Now, Doshin the Giant showcases a little bit more of a difference. Here's the intro, and you can't really tell too much of a difference when it's zoomed out. But let's go ahead and zoom in on Doshin. With HDMI out, you can kind of see the jaggies around Doshin. But let's switch to Component, and suddenly it's a little blurrier around the edges, and you also lose the jaggy, so it's less crisp, but the polygons seem smoother. But then you go ahead and take a look at the GameCube component out through the OSSC, and then it outputs to an HDMI, and it kind of gives us some of those jaggies back. Some of that sort of digital signal back, which is interesting. So I don't really know what I like more here, the HDMI out or the component. Actually, I think I like the component out more in this case, because I think the jaggies on Doshin look a little weird. I think it should be smooth.
Yeah.
But you have to ask yourself, is that smoother look worth an additional $200?
I wouldn't actually say so.
No!
I've spent some stupid money on games and stuff before, but
that's real stupid money right there.
yeah,
That's real stupid money.
Fuck that.
Let's go ahead and take a look at Pikmin 2. So here is the Composite, S-Video, HDMI. Again, nice upgrade here. Now, strangely, unlike Doshin, we don't get a significant difference in the jaggies here. So we look at HDMI, then we look at component, and you're still pretty much looking at the same number of jaggies.
It could just be the size of the characters and the angles that they are. Doshin is much more rounded. He's also takes up larger part of the screen.
Yeah.
So it might just be less pronounced. It's like that last couple of lenses at the optometrist where they're flipping back and forth and like, come on, pick one. Which one's better? And you're just like, I don't know. What?
Yeah.
Why is one very slightly dimmer, but I wouldn't have noticed unless they were next to each other?
Now, I'm sure you're asking, hey, let's go ahead and take a look at some Gameboy titles. So here is Battletoads via the HDMI plug-and-play.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Why aren't you playing them on the Genesis or the NES? That isn't the focus of this video.
Hey! Quiet, you.
Just enjoy the turbo tunnels that Tony didn't get to.
That's right. Now, I should note that we're actually not utilizing the first-party original software here. We are utilizing the Game Boy interface software via the SD Media Launcher. Now, the SD Media Launcher is a bit of software and basically like an SD card in the memory slot that can load various bits of software, homebrew games, whatever.
Yeah, I believe you can put just full ROMs on this thing. The reason we got one so that we could use the Game Boy interface, which is so much better than the packed-in software that came with the Game Boy player, because that played everything in 480i. It had a lot of input lag if you played it. It didn't have proper integer scaling, and I'm sure there are a whole bunch of like minor errors in various games that people will probably list in the comments, but it wasn't very good.
No.
And you have to get the SD Media Launcher, a GameCube, and something to get that high resolution in there. You gotta have dedication to that Game Boy.
You have to be a real Game Boy. We are specifically utilizing the Game Boy interface because it gives us the crispest image, the best quality, so we can do the best comparison. And here we are with Gunstar Heroes. And the HDMI out plug and play looks amazing.
Yeah.
Granted, of course, so do the component options. Here is a still shot where we compare it. Now, again, I approximated my position in my playthroughs here, so it's not like exact, but take a look. Here's HDMI, GameCube component via the OSSC, and realistically, there's basically zero difference. Now, I should mention that there are a couple different versions of the Game Boy interface. There's a regular Game Boy interface, there's the low latency, and the ultra low latency. We could not get the ultra low latency to capture.
But we could get it to work on your TV.
Correct. And we couldn't get the low latency to work at all with the plug and play. I don't know why, it just would not output a signal.
It may be your TV doesn't like it. It might be the Elgato.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of different things that could go on there.
I will say that I got the low latency to work with the component cables. Pretty much everything I used with a low latency worked, except for the HDMI plug and play. Now, before we wrap this up, we also did a little testing with the 240p test suite.
You can load the 240p test suite through the SD Media Launcher, and I don't know the inherent delay of that display back there, but I did put it in game mode and disabled a few features and monkeyed about with it, so it would be annoying for Tony to set it back up for filming right after. But it looks like after screwing around with it for a while, I was only getting 1 to 2 or 3 frames of lag.
Yeah, and there's
3
probably
I was botching,
but yeah, and there's probably a lot of it was the TV.
So I have to say, ZeldaXPro, you made a pretty quality product, although it is, I believe, all digital to digital, because that's a digital out, and all it has to do is convert it into the HDMI, so it's as I expected, extremely low latency. It's very, very nice.
So overall, what do you think of ZeldaXPro's GC video plug and play?
He did a great job. It was a great buying experience. No drama. It quite literally plugs and plays, and I have to say I'm very impressed that after, I think it was the version 2, it got unseated and shorted Metal Jesus' GameCube. He revised his design and made it so that it couldn't do that anymore.
Yep.
Just, that's amazing that he's willing to just immediately take community feedback and stuff like that. It's very nice. It's also nice that you just buy it and you plug it into the back. You don't have to send a system off to anybody. You don't have to do it. It isn't like an Ultra HDMI mod.
Yeah, for your N64. Like yeah, it's just clean and simple. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and put a link to his website in the description below if you want to check it out. We definitely very much enjoyed it. Also would recommend Metal Jesus' video, which is how we learned about this whole thing and how we ultimately came to the decision to order one. Realistically, it is a very good option for the, I'll say, the GameCube prosumer.
Yes, the GameCube prosumer.
Not quite the casual, not quite the insane. You're right in the middle. This is the product for you. The Goldilocks of GameCube video output devices.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. And if you'd like to support the show further, we do have a Patreon and a t-shirt store. You can go ahead and check the description below for links. Otherwise, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for clicking that notification button. And we'll see you guys next time.
Smash that like, dab on the haters, and buy our merch.
Yeah, dog. Thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and a share, and we will see you guys next time.